Hey guys, Dr. Shelly here. If you've been wondering what that sound is when you go to the chiropractor and they adjust you and you hear your neck or your back cracking, if you're wondering what that sound is, then this video is for you. I want to share with you some information so you can understand that it's not just about your back making these strange sounds, but there's actually a lot happening when you hear that. So, what is it? We don't call it cracking or popping, okay, even though that's what it sounds like. The sound that you hear is actually called a cavitation. And what happens is air is moving around and that creates that popping or cracking sound. That's why sometimes you can move and you hear that cracking sound and you didn't go to a chiropractor. Your body's normally, naturally doing that. So let me explain to you first so you have a better understanding the anatomy of your spine, okay? So this is your spine. It's actually my spine model, but each segment here is a vertebra, okay? And you can kind of feel that if you feel the back of your neck, you can feel they're called spinous processes right here, okay? But each one is a vertebra, and in between each vertebra, there's a joint. So it's like this is a vertebra and this one, and it creates a joint. And sometimes air can get between there. And if these segments are not moving properly, the air kind of gets trapped. It has nowhere to go. So when you go to a chiropractor and let's say this segment right here needs to be adjusted and they move that, it might make that cracking sound because the air from between the joints is moving out when the vertebra has motion again. So that's the simplicity of it. It's a lot more complicated, but for general understanding, when you get adjusted, you're going to hear that sound. Now, sometimes with certain chiropractic techniques, you're not going to hear that popping or cracking because it's not a fast technique. So if I were to go and move this segment here and I moved it very quick, just a fast motion, that's like the thrust when you get adjusted, you're going to hear that sound, okay? Because the motion is faster than the muscles can respond by getting tight, okay? Some chiropractic techniques are slow. So like if I were to press this really slow, you're going to be less likely to hear that sound because it's kind of like a slow release of the air rather than a fast release. So the best way to understand this is if you think about bubble wrap, okay? And if you pop bubble wrap really fast, it sounds like a pop, right? If you were to put a little hole in it and squeeze it, so it's just slow, like a slow squeeze, it's going to deflate, but it's not going to be the same sound. And that's the difference between having a high velocity fast adjustment and a slower adjustment. First of all, I want you to understand what that cracking is and the proper term, which is cavitation. But I also wanted you to understand the importance of it. So why is it so important? Why is it so significant getting adjusted? Why do I have to have insurance? And why did I have to go to school? Why did I have to get a doctorate in order to just make your back crack? And the reason is because there's a lot more going on than just that cracking sound. So when you get adjusted, okay, and using this area as an example, if this area is not moving, when you get adjusted, you're putting motion into this area, okay? And that's really important because if a joint is not moving properly, like let's say this one's stuck, then right between the vertebra, the two vertebra, you're gonna get arthritis. And arthritis means joint inflammation. And whenever you have joint inflammation, you get a breakdown of the soft tissue in that area. So you have a disc between each vertebra, if you can see, which is basically like a jelly donut between each vertebra. And if the vertebra is not moving, that disc kind of gets squished over time, okay? And that's why one of the reasons why people actually lose height the older they get. In order for those discs to remain hydrated, the vertebra has to move. So by getting adjusted, whether or not you are adjusted with a technique that you hear that cracking sound or not, you're actually helping those discs to stay hydrated. The other thing that is important as far as range of motion is concerned is that if you don't have proper range of motion in your spine, in the joints, or any joint for that matter, you actually are not able to do as much in life. Okay, so the more stiff you are, the harder it is for you to move freely, and what happens is you end up in pain, Okay. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that will happen when the joint's not moving. So, reason number one why that popping sound is so important is that you know that you've improved the range of motion of the area. Reason number two is that you're going to decrease the pain that's associated with the joint that's not moving, okay? And chiropractic has actually been shown to decrease pain better than certain medications, better than surgeries in some sense. There was a study done and they took workers that had back injuries and they found that out of all of them, 42% of them who saw a surgeon first had surgery, okay? And only 1.5% of those needed surgery when they saw a chiropractor first. So obviously it was, chiropractic can prevent surgeries. I mean, that's pretty impressive, right? The other interesting thing is that chiropractic patients are less likely to need painkillers, okay? And there was a study done and it showed that there's a 64% reduced chance of needing a prescription for opioids, painkillers, when people received chiropractic adjustments versus those who didn't, okay? Not only that, but chiropractic care is generally 20 to 40% less expensive than medical care, okay? So these are a lot of reasons to get adjusted, right? The third reason why that cracking or popping sound is so significant is because you know that you've achieved a certain level of neurological input into your body. What that means is that when I move this segment here and you hear that sound, that cracking sound, your nervous system that is basically housed in your spine, okay, it's your spinal cord, is stimulated to the point of being able to make amazing changes in your body. So I'll give you an example. Actually, I'll give you an example of the first adjustment ever in the history of chiropractic. Somebody who was deaf and he was adjusted. At the time, it wasn't called an adjustment because chiropractic didn't exist yet. He had his neck cracked, okay? And he had been deaf for 40 years. And after that adjustment, for the first time in 40 years, that night, he got his hearing back. And that's where chiropractic started because the adjustment has such a profound effect on your nervous system to the point where somebody got his hearing back. And you might think this is a little weird, okay, or you might not want to believe this, but I'm going to tell you from personal experience that I've had patients come into my office who had poor vision. And after a couple adjustments, their vision actually improved, okay? I've had patients come into my office with all sorts of digestive issues who didn't want me to help them with their nutrition. And although that's not ideal, they at least let me adjust them. And after a couple adjustments, their digestive issues started resolving. And the reason this works is because all of the nerves that come out from your spine here, they go to all of your organs. They go to your eyes, they go to your ears, they go to your stomach, your heart. If any of these nerves are not functioning properly, your body's not going to function properly. So what is the most simple and inexpensive way to help these nerves? An adjustment. And there's really very little side effect of having a chiropractic adjustment. So if you're having any kind of issue in your body, it's a really good idea to try to get adjusted first before you go seek medical attention. Even if you're trying to have a baby, it has been shown that chiropractic adjustments, specific types, can actually help people's bodies, their nervous systems, prepare for pregnancy. So people who have been trying to get pregnant for a while and they haven't been able to, they receive a couple adjustments and then before you know it, they get pregnant. I mean, all sorts of things, you name it. And I'm sure there is an explanation as to why chiropractic can improve that problem. So now that you understand why chiropractic is such an essential part of your healthcare, I want to explain to you the right and wrong ways to get that cracking sound, okay? Obviously, going to a chiropractor is the best way, okay? Because we've been trained to adjust your spine properly. Sometimes you move and you hear that popping sound, okay? That's just your body adjusting itself, self-adjusting, no big deal. But then there are times when you see people, not you, of course, who take their head, go like this, and they self-adjust, okay? That is not the best idea. Although there are correct ways to do that, or more correct ways to do that, taking your head and going like this is not very specific. What ends up happening is you twist this whole area and you might hear a couple things cracking, okay? But usually, let's say this segment right here needs to be adjusted, it's not moving. Usually, if you take your head and do that, every other segment is going to move except for the one that actually needs to. And that's why you feel like you have to do it again and again and again. Also, the segments that were already moving properly, you now forced them to move more. So now they're hypermobile compared to the one that is not moving, okay? So, and that applies to your entire spine. So sitting in a chair, twisting and pulling your body like that is not the greatest idea. If you're someone who feels like you need to do that all the time, it's a really good idea that you go have your spine checked, let a chiropractor adjust you. You'd be surprised. You might not even feel like you need to do that anymore, or you might feel like you might not need to do that as much. There's so much I could talk about as far as chiropractic, but I really wanted you guys to understand what that cracking, popping sound is. It is not your bones making noises, it's air, okay? So as a chiropractor, I am moving the air out between the joints of your spine. So it's totally safe, and I'd love to help you. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I'll do the best I can to help you understand a little bit more about chiropractic. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.